Aloha, and welcome to the Hawaii Travel Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Marcie, and if this is your first time listening, welcome to our ohana. For those of you who've been with me on this journey, mahalo for coming back week after week. You know, I was just looking at my photo album for my latest trip to Maui. It was trip number 42. Can you believe that? And I realized something. Every single one of those trips taught me something new about how to experience Hawaii without completely emptying my bank account. And trust me, in those early days, I definitely made some expensive mistakes. My very first trip to Hawaii was actually when I was just 10 years old, back in 1994. It was a family vacation that sparked my lifelong love affair with the islands. But my first real adult trip, that was 2004, when my best friend and I decided to splurge on a girls' trip to Oahu. We were so excited to finally plan our own Hawaii adventure. And oh my goodness, did we overspend. We booked a resort hotel because it looked amazing online. Check. We ate every single meal at resort restaurants because we thought it was just what you did. Check. We booked tours through the hotel concierge because it seemed convenient. Double check. By day 4, I was literally calculating in my head whether I could afford that smoothie by the pool. We came home with incredible memories, but also some serious credit card regret. But you know what? That expensive lesson taught me everything I know today about traveling smart in Hawaii. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. How to have that dream Hawaii vacation without the financial hangover. Whether you're a family trying to make your vacation budget stretch further, a couple planning your first romantic getaway to the islands, or maybe you're a solo traveler who wants to see everything but doesn't have unlimited funds, I've got strategies that actually work. The topic has been coming up so much in my DMs lately. People telling me they've been dreaming about Hawaii for years, but every time they start researching and adding up the costs, they just feel overwhelmed and end up putting their trip off for someday. If that sounds like you, this episode is definitely for you. So grab your favorite beverage, maybe some Kona coffee if you're feeling the Hawaii vibe, and let's dive into my proven strategies for making Hawaii affordable. And I promise you, we're not talking about roughing it or missing out on the magic. We're talking about being smart, strategic, and still having the time of your life. All right, let's start with the big one, the expense that usually makes people's eyes water when they start planning. Flights. The big kahuna of Hawaii vacation expenses. I mean, we're talking about getting to the most isolated island chain in the world, so yeah, it's going to cost something. But here's the thing, you absolutely do not have to pay full price, and I'm going to share some strategies that could literally save you hundreds, maybe even over $1,000. Let's start with my absolute favorite hack, and this is brand new information that just happened this summer. The Alaska Airlines Companion Fare. Okay, you've probably heard of Alaska Airlines' famous Companion Fare before. It's been around since the 1990s. But here's what changed everything. As of July of 2025, you can now use that Companion Fare on Hawaiian Airlines flights too. I'm talking about booking one ticket at regular price and getting the second ticket for just $122 total. That's $99 plus taxes, starting at around $23. And now, because of the Alaska-Hawaiian merger, this works on Hawaiian Airlines flights within North America, including all the Hawaii routes. So let me paint you a picture of how this works. Say you're flying from Chicago to Honolulu. You could book Alaska Airlines from Chicago to Seattle, and then Hawaiian Airlines from Seattle to Honolulu, and use your Companion Fare for the entire journey. Or you could fly Hawaiian Airlines direct from a city like Los Angeles to any Hawaiian island. I just used this for my family, and we saved $487 on my husband's ticket. That's almost enough to cover our entire food budget for the week. Now, to get this Companion Fare, you need either the Alaska Airlines Visa Signature Card or the Alaska Airlines Visa Business Card. After you spend $6,000 in a card member year, you get the Companion Fare certificate. And here's a pro tip. Sometimes they offer Companion Fare as part of the sign-up bonus, so you could potentially use it right away. The beauty of this deal is that both passengers earn full miles, both tickets are eligible for upgrades, and you're treated just like any other paying passenger. It's not some restricted blackout date nightmare like some airline deals. Now, if credit card churning isn't your thing, and I totally get that it's not for everyone, let's talk about maximizing the points you're already earning. I always tell people to use apps like a Word Wallet to track your points across different programs. It's so easy to lose track, and I've seen people literally forget about thousands of points sitting in various accounts. If you have a travel rewards card, pay attention to transfer partners. Sometimes you can transfer points to airlines at a 1-to-1 ratio, which can be an incredible value for Hawaii flights. I recently helped someone transfer Chase points to United, and she got a round-trip ticket to Kauai for just 40,000 points, plus $11 in taxes. And here's something a lot of people don't think about. If you're just starting out with points and miles, look for credit cards with big sign-up bonuses. Some of those bonuses are worth enough for a free round-trip ticket to Hawaii. Just make sure you can meet the spending requirement naturally. Never go into debt to earn points. All right, flexibility is your secret weapon. This is where the real magic happens, friends. Being flexible with your dates can save you more money than any hack I know. I live by Google Flights and Hopper for tracking prices. Set up those price alerts and be patient. I've seen flights drop by $200 to $300 per person just by shifting travel dates by a few days. So here's what flexibility looks like in practice. Instead of flying out on a Saturday and returning Saturday, try Tuesday to Tuesday or Wednesday to Wednesday. Weekday travel can save you $100 to $200 per ticket easily. And seasonal flexibility, even better. May, September, and October are my favorite months for Hawaii travel. You get good weather, fewer crowds, and significantly lower prices. I'm talking about differences of $300 to $500 per person compared to peak season. I know, you might be thinking, but Marcie, I have kids in school, or I can only take vacation at certain times. And I hear you. But if you do have any flexibility at all, use it. Even shifting by a week can make a huge difference. One more flight tip before we move on. If you're on the East Coast, don't automatically assume that you need to pay for a direct flight. Sometimes routing through the West Coast with a connection can save serious money, especially if you're using that Alaska Companion Fare strategy I mentioned. Okay, so you scored a great deal on flights. High five. But now you need somewhere to stay. And this is where a lot of people's budgets start to spiral out of control. But don't worry, I've got you covered. So let's be real for a minute about Hawaii accommodations. When you start looking at those gorgeous resort photos with the infinity pools and ocean views, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking you need to spend $500 to $800 a night to have a good time. But here's what I've learned after 42 trips. Where you sleep matters way less than what you're doing during the day. So I'm a huge fan of vacation rentals when you're trying to save money, and not just because they're usually cheaper than hotels. Although they are, we're looking at an average of about $170 a night plus taxes for vacation rentals, compared to $350 to $450 for decent hotels. But here's the real reason I love them. The kitchen. Having a kitchen changes everything about your food budget. We'll talk more about food costs in a bit, but just know that being able to cook some of your own meals can easily save you $50 to $100 per day per person. I always look for places on Airbnb or Vrbo that have at least a kitchenette, a fridge, microwave, and maybe a stovetop. You don't need a gourmet kitchen to make breakfast, pack lunches, or even prepare simple dinners. Some of my favorite places to stay include Honua Kai on Maui. It's a condo resort with full kitchens. On Oahu, I love the vacation rentals in Kailua. You're right by some of the most beautiful beaches in the world, and the nightly rates are usually much cheaper than Waikiki. So here's a pro tip. If you're traveling with another family or a group, vacation rentals become an even better deal. Split a 3-bedroom condo 4 ways, and suddenly you're paying $40 to $50 per person per night, instead of $200 to $300 per person for hotel rooms. Now, if you prefer hotels, and there are definitely advantages to hotel stays, let's talk about maximizing your points and rewards. If you have a hotel credit card, this is where it really pays off. I've stayed at beautiful Hyatt resorts in Hawaii just using points. No cash out of pocket except for resort fees and incidentals. Even if you don't have a ton of points saved up, sometimes the points plus cash rates can be great deals. So instead of paying $400 a night cash, maybe you can pay $15,000 points plus $150. That might be worth it depending on how you value your points. And here's something people often overlook: hotel booking flexibility. If you can book a refundable rate, keep monitoring prices. Hotels sometimes drop their rates and you can rebook at a lower price. I do this religiously, and I've saved hundreds of dollars by rebooking the same hotel at a lower rate. Okay, let's talk about island strategy and timing. Here's something that can make a huge difference in your accommodation costs: which island you choose and when to visit. Oahu is typically the most budget-friendly island for accommodations. You've got the most options, the most competition, and generally lower prices. Maui, on the other hand, is the most expensive, sometimes 50 to 70% more than comparable places on Oahu. The Big Island and Kauai usually fall somewhere in between, but here's the thing about the Big Island. Prices can vary dramatically depending on which side you stay on. Kona side is generally more expensive than Hilo side, but Hilo gets more rain. It's all about what trade-offs you're comfortable with. And timing? This is huge. Booking at least 6 months in advance gives you the best selection and the best prices. But here's what's really important: avoiding peak season. December through April is peak season, and summer months when kids are out of school also see higher prices. Those shoulder season months I mentioned for flights, May, September, October, they're magic for accommodations too. You're looking at potentially 30 to 40% savings just by shifting your travel dates. I just booked a place on Maui for October, and the same exact unit was $200 a night for my October dates versus $420 for a night in March dates. That's a $140 night difference, nearly $1,000 savings for a week-long trip. There's also a location strategy. Here's something I learned the hard way on my early trips. Paying a premium to stay right on the beach isn't always worth it. Some of the best value accommodations are a 5 to 10 minute walk or drive from the beach, and honestly, you're probably going to be out exploring the island most of the day anyway. On Oahu, staying in Waikiki is convenient but pricey. Look at places in nearby neighborhoods like Ala Moana, or even consider the North Shore if you don't mind a bit of a drive to other parts of the island. On Maui, everyone wants to stay in Wailea or Ka'ana, but consider areas like Kihei or even upcountry if you want a different experience. The key is thinking about what you really need. If you're the type of travelers who are out from the breakfast until sunset, maybe you don't need the oceanfront room. Save that money for experiences instead. Speaking of experiences, let's talk about activities and how to enjoy everything Hawaii has to offer without spending a fortune. Okay, here's where Hawaii can either make or break your budget. You've got snorkeling tours for $150 a person, helicopter rides for $300, luau's for $200. It adds up fast. But here's what I've discovered. Some of the most incredible experiences in Hawaii don't cost a dime, and for the paid activities, there are so many ways to save if you know what to look for. Okay, let me tell you about one of my favorite days in Hawaii, and it was so affordable. We were on Oahu, and we started the morning with a hike up Diamond Head. Yes, there's a small entrance fee. I think it's about $5 per person, but the views from the top are worth $1 million. After the hike, we drove to Sharks Cove on the North Shore. We brought our own snorkeling gear, more on that in a bit, and spent hours swimming with tropical fish. No tour guide needed, no crowded boat, just us in the crystal clear water. For lunch, we stopped at a local food truck, still keeping costs low, and then spent the afternoon at Sunset Beach, just relaxing and people watching. As the sun started to set, we drove to the west side of the island and watched one of the most spectacular sunsets I've ever seen. The total cost for the day, maybe $25 for food and gas. The total value of the experience, priceless. The point is, Hawaii's natural beauty is free. Every single beach is public in Hawaii. That's the law. You can spend days just beach hopping and never get bored. Some of my other favorite free activities are hiking Waimea Canyon on Kauai. They call it the Grand Canyon of the Pacific for a reason. Exploring the lava fields on the Big Island. Walking through downtown Honolulu and checking out historic sites like Iolani Palace from the outside. Driving the road to Hana on Maui. Gas money only, but one of the most beautiful drives in the world. Now, for the paid activities, let's talk about the Go City Passes, because this is where you can save serious money if you're planning to do multiple things. The Oahu All-Inclusive Pass now includes more than 45 attractions and activities, and you can save up to 50% compared to buying everything individually. I'm talking about access to the Polynesian Cultural Center, Sea Life Park, Pearl Harbor tours, catamaran cruises, all included. So here's how the math works out. A 7-day pass costs about $369 per person. That might sound like a lot up front, but think about it. That's about $53 per activity for unlimited activities. A single luau usually costs $150 to $200 per person, and the pass includes a premium luau experience. You're basically getting everything else for free at that point. The 3, 4, and 5-day passes are usually the sweet spot for most travelers. They give you enough time to hit up the major activities while leaving some days free for beach time and exploring on your own. But here's the key. You need to plan ahead. Most of the popular activities require reservations, even with the pass. Don't just show up and hope for the best. Download the GoCity app, make your reservations as soon as you buy your pass, and plan your itinerary around availability. So if passes aren't your thing, there are other ways to save on activities. Groupon can have good deals, but be careful. Sometimes the discounted price is actually the regular price, or there are hidden restrictions. Always compare to booking directly with the operator. Speaking of booking directly, that's often your best bet for things like snorkeling tours or boat trips. Cut out the middleman, call the operator directly, and ask if they have any discounts. Military discounts, Aina rates if you know locals, or even just asking, is this your best price, can sometimes save you money. Another strategy I love is booking sunset activities. Sunset sailing cruises, sunset yoga classes, sunset horseback rides, they often cost the same as daytime activities, but feel more special. Plus, you get your activity and your sunset viewing all in one. Here's something that can save you a ton of money over multiple trips. Bring your own gear when possible. Snorkeling gear, beach umbrellas, coolers, these things add up fast when you're renting them. Good snorkeling gear rental can cost $20 to $30 per person per day. Multiply that by a week-long trip for a family of 4, and you're looking at hundreds of dollars. You can buy decent snorkeling sets for $30 to $40 each and use them trip after trip. Same thing goes with beach gear. That beach umbrella rental might be $25 a day, but you can buy one for $40 and use it for years. And here's a big one, reef-safe sunscreen. Hawaii requires safe sunscreen, and buying it there costs $15 to $20 or more for a small bottle. Stock up before you go and bring plenty. All right, just like with accommodations, timing matters for activities. Booking morning activities is often cheaper than afternoon ones. Tuesday through Thursday activities sometimes cost less than weekend activities. Also, consider the shoulder season advantage for activities too. Not only will you save money, but you'll often have smaller groups and more personalized experiences. I've been on snorkeling tours in peak season with 40 people on the boat, and off-season tours with just 12 people. Guess which experience was better? One more insider tip. If you're staying for a week or more, look for local activity companies that offer package deals. Sometimes buying multiple activities from the same operator gets you a discount. All this activity planning is making me hungry, which brings us to our next topic, food. And boy, do I have some eye-opening information about food costs in Hawaii, plus strategies to keep you well-fed without going broke. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, food costs in Hawaii. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Eating in Hawaii is expensive. But I'm also going to show you exactly how to navigate this without surviving on peanut butter sandwiches for a week. Okay, let me give you the current numbers because I think it's important to go into this with realistic expectations. If you're eating out every meal at restaurants, you're looking at about $15 for breakfast, $25 for lunch, and $45 for dinner per person. That's $85 per person per day, or almost $600 per person for a week. For a family of 4, we're talking about $2,400 just for food for 1 week. Ouch. Even grocery shopping is pricey. Milk costs about $7.64 a gallon. Bread is more than $6, and a dozen eggs will run you about $5. These prices aren't tourist traps. This is what locals pay too, because almost everything has to be shipped across the Pacific Ocean. But here's the thing. Knowing these numbers means you can plan around them and make smart choices about where to splurge and where to save. So one of my favorite ways to eat well for less is to eat where the locals eat. And I'm not just saying that to sound cool. Local spots are genuinely cheaper and often more delicious than tourist restaurants. So let me tell you about plate lunch culture. This is a Hawaii tradition where you get a protein, maybe teriyaki chicken or kalua pork, served with rice and macaroni salad or green salad. These meals are filling, authentic, and usually cost around $8. L&O Barbecue is a local chain that does this really well, and you'll see locals lined up there during lunchtime. Food trucks are another goldmine. Giovanni's shrimp truck on Oahu is famous for a reason. Amazing garlic shrimp for about $12. But there are incredible food trucks on every island. Korean barbecue, fresh fish, acai bowls, shave ice, all much cheaper than sit-down restaurants. And can we talk about poke for a minute? This is Hawaii's gift to the world. Fresh, raw fish served in cubes, usually over rice. You can get amazing poke at grocery stores like Foodland for $6 to $10, and it's often better than what you can get at a fancy restaurant for $25. Farmers markets are another secret weapon. Every island has them, usually once or twice a week. You'll find fresh tropical fruit at much better prices than grocery stores, plus local specialties and sometimes prepared food. All right, let's talk about a grocery store game plan. Having access to a kitchen changes everything about your food budget. Even if you only cook breakfast and pack lunches, you can easily save $40 to $50 per person per day. So here's my grocery store strategy. Shop at Costco or Safeway for basics. Yes, there are Costcos in Hawaii. The prices are still higher than the mainland, but they're the best you'll find in the islands. Stock up on breakfast items: cereal, fruit, yogurt, coffee. Make your own coffee instead of stopping at cafes. That's $5 to $7 per coffee you're saving. Buy sandwich supplies for lunch. Grab snacks and drinks to keep in your beach bag. And here's a fun fact. Costco in Hawaii has some of the best souvenir shopping. Macadamia nuts, Kona coffee, Hawaiian honey, all at much better prices than tourist shops. For produce, hit up local grocery stores like Foodland or Times Supermarket. They often have better selection of local fruits and sometimes better prices on Hawaiian-grown items. Now, I'm not saying you should never eat out. That's part of the fun of traveling. But be strategic about when you splurge. Happy hour is your friend. Many restaurants offer significant discounts during happy hour, sometimes 30 to 50% off food and drinks. In Waikiki, you can find happy hours from 2 to 6 p.m. at many places. Lunch portions are often dinner size, but cost about 30% less. If you want to try that fancy restaurant with the ocean view, go for lunch instead of dinner. And consider the strategy. Cook breakfast and lunch and then splurge on dinner. Or cook dinner most nights and splurge on 1 or 2 special dinners during your trip. Okay, let's talk about alcohol for a minute because this can really add up. Hawaii has high taxes on alcohol, so cocktails at resort bars can easily cost $15 to $18 each, and beer at restaurants is often $7 to $9. If you drink alcohol, buy it at grocery stores or Costco and pregame at your accommodation. Then, maybe have 1 or 2 drinks when you're out instead of drinking all night at restaurant prices. For non-alcoholic drinks, water bottles can cost $3 to $4 each at tourist areas. Bring a reusable water bottle and fill it up. Many restaurants will give you free water, and many accommodations have filtered water available. One area where I do recommend splurging at least once is on a traditional luau. Yes, they're touristy, and yes, they're expensive, usually $150 to $200 per person. But a good luau is about more than just food. It's cultural education, entertainment, and an experience you'll remember forever. If you get a Go City Pass, many include a premium luau, which is great value. Otherwise, do your research and pick one that focuses on authentic Hawaiian culture, not just a dinner show. The key with all food spending is balance. Have your peanut butter and jelly lunch so you can afford the amazing seafood dinner. Make coffee in your room so you can splurge on that acai bowl at the farmer's market. Now that we've covered the big budget categories, let me share some of my favorite miscellaneous money-saving tips that can really add up. Okay, we've covered the big expenses: flights, accommodations, activities, and food. But there are so many little things that can either nickel and dime you to death or save you significant money if you know what to look for. These are the tips I wish someone had told me on my first trip. Let's start with getting around once you're there. The automatic assumption is that you need to rent a car for your entire trip, but that's not always true. If you're staying in Waikiki on Oahu, seriously consider skipping the rental car altogether. The bus system is actually pretty good, and a monthly pass is only $70. Compare that to rental car costs. We're talking $250 to $400 per week, plus $4 to $5 per gallon for gas, plus parking fees, which can be $25 to $40 per day in Waikiki. I know a couple who stayed in Waikiki for 10 days, used the bus and occasional Uber rides, and spent less than $150 total on transportation. That would have been more than $600 on a rental car. Now, if you're staying on other islands or want to explore beyond the main tourist areas, you'll probably need a car. But here's a strategy. Instead of renting for your entire trip, rent for just a few days. Maybe rent a car for 2 days to drive the road to Hana on Maui, then return it and use other transportation for the rest of your trip. On the Big Island, consider renting a car only for the days you want to visit Hawaii Volcanoes National Park or drive to the other side of the island. Then, the rest of the time, you might be fine with resort shuttles or staying local to your accommodation. Oh my goodness, souvenir shopping can destroy a budget so fast. I've seen people spend $300 on airport souvenirs that they could have bought for $75 elsewhere. So here's my souvenir shopping hierarchy. First choice is Costco. Seriously, they have macadamia nuts, Kona coffee, local honey, all at much better prices than tourist shops. A bag of macadamia nuts might cost $25 at a tourist shop and $8 at Costco. Second choice is ABC stores. Yes, they're touristy, but they're everywhere and their prices are relatively reasonable. Third choice is local markets and farmers markets. Great for authentic, locally made items. Last choice, never shop at airports or resort gift shops unless you absolutely have to. The markup is insane. And here's a tip for families with kids. Set a souvenir budget before you go. Give each kid a specific amount to spend and let them choose how to use it. It prevents meltdowns and overspending. There are so many things you can bring from home instead of buying in Hawaii. Let's talk about packing smart. There are so many things you can bring from home instead of buying in Hawaii. We already talked about snorkeling gear and reef safe sunscreen, but let's expand on this. Beach towels. Hotels and condos usually provide them, but if you're planning on beach days, bring a couple extra. Beach towel rentals can be $5 to $10 per day. Portable cooler. Even a small soft-sided cooler can save you money on drinks and snacks for beach days. A bottle of water costs $1 at a grocery store versus $3 to $4 at the beach. Basic first aid supplies, Band-Aids, ibuprofen, antacid, these cost a fortune at resort shops. Laundry detergent pods. If you're staying somewhere with a washer and dryer, bring a few pods instead of buying a whole container there. Power strips and phone chargers. Hotel rooms never have enough outlets, and buying these in Hawaii is expensive. And here's some random but totally useful tips. Download offline maps before you go. Data roaming charges can be expensive, and you don't want to rely on finding Wi-Fi when you're trying to navigate to a remote beach. Take advantage of hotel and condo amenities you're already paying for. Pool, fitness center, business center, Wi-Fi, you're paying for all these through resort fees anyway, so use them. Look for free Wi-Fi instead of paying for hotel internet if there are charges. Many coffee shops, restaurants, and public areas have free Wi-Fi. Bring reusable water bottles for everyone in your group. Staying hydrated is important in the tropical climate, but buying water bottles constantly gets expensive. Take photos of your rental car when you pick it up and when you return it. Rental companies in Hawaii can be strict about damage charges, and having photo evidence protects you. Okay, we've touched on this throughout the episode, but it's worth repeating. Timing is everything in Hawaii. Shoulder season isn't just cheaper for flights and hotels, everything is cheaper. Activity companies offer discounts, restaurants have more specials, and even some shops have sales to attract the smaller number of tourists. If you can travel during these times, which is late April through May, September through mid-October, you're looking at potential savings of 30 to 40% across all categories. Even if you can't do shoulder season, midweek travel is usually cheaper than weekends. Tuesday through Thursday, flights, hotels, and even some activities cost less. So here's what I want you to remember from all of these tips. Small savings add up to big savings. Saving $20 here and $30 there might not seem like much, but by the end of a week-long trip, these strategies can easily save you $500 to $1,000 or more. And that money you save, you can put it toward that sunset dinner you've been dreaming about, or an extra day trip, even extending your vacation by a day. The goal isn't to be cheap, it's to be smart with your money so you can spend it on the experiences that matter most to you. Let me wrap this up with some final thoughts and your action plan. Want even more money-saving strategies personalized to your specific trip? My Hawaii travel consultations cover budget planning, including realistic cost expectations and where to splurge versus save. For $149, you'll get a 60-minute consultation with me. And because you're working with me, my travel agent partner waives her planning fee. And Kim at Stuffed Suitcase often has access to exclusive deals. Or grab a quick 30-minute consultation for $69. Visit hawaiitravelwithkids.com to book and stretch your Hawaii vacation budget further. Wow, we covered a lot of ground today. I hope your notepad is full of ideas, or maybe you're already opening browser tabs to start planning your trip. But before you jump into booking mode, let me give you the recap and your action plan. Okay, so here's the reality check I want you to have. The average Hawaii trip costs about $393 per person per day if you're not being strategic. But using the strategies we talked about today, you can easily bring that down to $200 to $250 per day. And if you're really budget conscious, under $100 per day is totally doable on Oahu. For a family of 4 on a week-long trip, we're talking about the difference between spending $11,000 and spending $5,000 to $7,000. That's real money, friends. And if you're ready to start planning, here's what I want you to do. First, decide on your dates with as much flexibility as possible. Remember, May, September, and October are your money-saving sweet spots. Second, start with flights. Set up those price alerts on Google Flights and Hopper. If you're interested in the Alaska Airlines Companion Fare strategy, look into getting the credit card sooner rather than later, because you'll want to start earning toward that spending requirement. Third, accommodations. Start looking at vacation rentals with kitchenettes, especially if you're traveling with family or friends. Book early for the best selection and prices. Fourth, make a rough activity plan. Decide what's most important to you. Is it that helicopter tour, the luau, the snorkeling adventure? Budget for your must-dos first, and then see what else fits. And finally, start gathering your gear. Snorkeling equipment, reef-safe sunscreen, reusable water bottles. These upfront investments will save you money trip after trip. But here's what I really want you to remember. The goal isn't to spend the least amount of money possible. The goal is to spend your money wisely so you can have the experiences that matter most to you. Maybe for you, that means cooking breakfast every day so you can afford that sunset dinner cruise. Maybe it means staying in a budget condo so you can splurge on a helicopter tour. Maybe it means bringing your own snorkel gear so you can afford an extra day trip to another island. The point is, when you're smart about some things, you can be generous with yourself on others. You know, after 42 trips to Hawaii, people sometimes ask me if it ever gets old. And honestly, every single trip still feels magical to me. Maybe it's watching my kids experience their first sea turtle sighting, or discovering a new hidden beach, or just sitting on the lanai with my morning coffee watching the sunrise. Hawaii has this incredible ability to reset your soul, to remind you what's really important in life. And that experience, that feeling, is not just about the money you spend. Some of my most treasured Hawaii memories cost absolutely nothing. So yes, be smart with your budget. Use these strategies. Save money when you can. But don't forget to be present and soak up every single moment of your time in paradise. I want to hear about your Hawaii planning. Are you working on your first trip, or are you a Hawaii veteran looking to save more money? Which of today's tips are you most excited about? Send me a DM on Instagram at Hawaii Travel with Kids, or visit my blog for even more detailed guides and tips. I love hearing from listeners, and honestly, you guys often teach me new things too. And if this episode was helpful, please just take a minute to subscribe and leave a review. It helps other dreamers find the show and start planning their own affordable Hawaii adventures. And check out the show notes. I'm dropping a link to my free Hawaii budget planner. Until then, keep dreaming about those turquoise waters and trade winds. And remember, your Hawaii vacation is closer than you think. Mahalo for listening, and I'll see you next week. Aloha.